Let me tell you about two sisters. Both turned 60 the same year. Both spent their whole careers in office jobs. Both had almost the exact same amount saved, within a few $1,000s of each other. 5 years later, one of them is booking 2 vacations a year and sleeping just fine at night. The other one is back at a part-time job at 65 because her money ran out faster than she thought it would. Same paychecks, same savings, same starting line. So, what happened? It wasn't the stock market. It wasn't luck. It came down to a short list of decisions, the kind most people don't even know they're supposed to make, in the 10 years around their last paycheck. Advisors have a name for that window. They call it the retirement red zone. 5 years before you stop working, 5 years after. And today, I want to walk you through 6 signs that tell you whether you're actually ready for that window or whether it's about to catch you off guard. If you're anywhere close to this stretch of life, hit subscribe. Every week, I break down one more piece of this puzzle. Sign number 1. You don't have an actual date. Here's a question I ask everybody. When are you retiring? And almost everyone gives me the same kind of answer. Sometime around 63. Maybe 65, we'll see. That's not a plan. That's a guess wearing a plan's clothes. Raymond found this out the hard way. He's 58, disciplined saver his whole life, always did the responsible thing. When I asked him his retirement date, he said probably 64-ish. So we ran the numbers 2 ways. Once at 62, once at 65. Same portfolio, same savings rate. The 3-year difference was $187,000 in lifetime income. Not because the market did anything different, just because every decision downstream of that date, when income switches on, how long the money has to stretch, moves with it. Carol, his wife, picked an actual date that same week, March of the year she turns 64. One sentence. But it's the sentence that makes every other number in this video mean something. Say the month and the year out loud. That's the whole first step. Sign number 2. You know your total, but not your real number. Most people can tell you their portfolio balanced down to the dollar. Ask them what their actual monthly life costs in retirement, and it gets quiet. That was Derek. Derek's 49, does well for himself, drives a car nicer than mine, and for years he had one number in his head, $2.4 million. That was the number. Never once had he broken down what a month of his actual life would cost. So we did it together. Turns out his real monthly number, once you strip out the mortgage he'll have paid off, was $8,340. Not $10,000. Not about 10 grand. $8,340. Housing, food, insurance, healthcare. Then a separate bucket for the fun stuff, travel, his golf habit, another $1,950, and a third bucket, the one everybody forgets, irregular hits, a new roof, helping a kid, a knee replacement he didn't see coming. Derek wasn't wrong to save aggressively. He was just chasing a big round number before he knew what his life actually cost. Flip that order, and the plan gets real. Sign number 3. You've never separated what you can stomach from what your plan can survive. There's your risk tolerance, how you feel watching your account drop. And there's your risk capacity, what your plan can actually absorb without blowing up your retirement date. Raymond thought those were the same thing. In 2022, his portfolio dropped 11% in about 4 months. He didn't panic sell. His tolerance was fine. But when we ran the math, if a drop like that had happened the year he retired, he'd have needed to either delay retirement by 2 years or cut his spending by $740 a month for the rest of his life to keep the plan intact. That's a low capacity wearing a comfortable tolerances close. Capacity wins. Not, can I handle watching this number drop, but can my plan survive it happening at the worst possible time? Once you're 5 years out, that's the question that matters. Sign number 4, your money is all sitting in one tax bucket. Carol had done everything right for 30 years. Maxed her 401k, never touched it, watched it grow to just over $1.1 million. She figured that number was hers. It's not all of it. Every dollar in a traditional 401k has a silent partner, the IRS. When Carol pulls that money out in retirement, it's taxed as regular income, meaning her $1.1 million is worth less than the number on the screen. And how much less depends entirely on what tax bracket she's in the year she withdraws it. Here's the part most people miss. There's often a window after you stop working, before Social Security and required withdrawals kick in, where your taxable income drops lower than it's been in decades. Carol's window turned out to be 2 years, ages 63 and 64, where she could convert chunks of that traditional money into a Roth at a tax rate of 12% instead of the 22% she'd pay later. That's not a loophole. That's just paying attention to timing instead of leaving it to chance. Watch for the landmines here too. The widow's penalty. If Raymond passed first, Carol would lose his Social Security check and get taxed as a single filer on roughly the same bills, which can push her into a higher bracket overnight, and the ACA subsidy cliff. If either of them retires before 65 and needs marketplace health insurance, one extra dollar of reported income can wipe out thousands in subsidies in a single year. None of this is about being scared of taxes. It's about knowing which bucket every dollar sits in before you need it. Sign number 5. You're leaving your first 5 years to chance. This is the one that keeps financial planners up at night, and almost nobody outside the industry has heard of it. Sequence of returns risk. It's not about your average return over 30 years. It's about what the market does in the first few years you start pulling money out. Derek ran into a version of this in a stress test we did. A market drop of 17% hitting in year 1 of his withdrawals instead of year 15. Cut nearly 9 years off how long his money lasted. Same average return over the full stretch. Wildly different outcome, just based on timing he couldn't control. The fix isn't complicated, it's just often skipped. Build a cash buffer, roughly 2 to 3 years worth of the gap between your guaranteed income and your actual spending, sitting in something that isn't the stock market. When a bad year hits, you spend from that buffer instead of selling investments at the bottom. This connects straight back to Social Security too. Often, the lower earner in a household claims early, while the higher earner delays until 70, growing that benefit by roughly 8% a year. That's not just a bigger check. It becomes the survivor benefit, which is protection for whichever one of them lives longer. Raymond and Carol did exactly this. Carol claimed at 63, Raymond is holding off until 70. It's not 2 individual decisions. It's one household decision. Sign number 6, you've never tested the plan in real life. Every sign so far lives on paper. This last one is the only one that lives in real life. 1 year out, do what Raymond and Carol did. For 4 months, live only on what your retirement budget says you'll have. Park the real paycheck untouched in a separate account. Don't peek at it. They found out 2 things. First, their budget was off by about $310 a month. Not enough to derail anything, but enough to adjust before it mattered. Second, and more important, they found out the number actually worked. That's the part spreadsheets can't give you. Confidence. If any of these 6 hit close to home, hit subscribe. I break down one piece of this every single week. Here's the thing nobody puts in the spreadsheet. The people who obsess purely over the numbers hit their number exactly, retire on the exact date, often feel lost within 6 months. Meanwhile, people on tighter budgets who retired toward something, a craft, a hobby, a purpose, tend to love it. So don't just plan what you're stopping, plan what you're starting, A good plan doesn't erase the uncertainty. It just builds guardrails so that one bad year, one bad diagnosis, one bad month in the market can't knock you off course. Retirement was never going to be one big decision. It's a string of small, boring, unglamorous ones, made a little early on your own terms instead of made for you. Notice the half second before you decide your date is close enough. That's usually where the real planning starts. If you're anywhere near this 10-year window, even if it still feels far off, the earlier you build the plan, the more of these decisions belong to you instead of to circumstance. Drop a comment. Which of these 6 signs hit closest to home? See you in the next video. This video is for educational purposes only and does not constitute financial, tax, or legal advice. Consult a licensed professional before making decisions about your retirement.